Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. I'm Bill Horan, coming to you once again live via Zoom and being socially distant as recommended. Today, our special guest is Dana Lopez, the Director of Marketing and Communications at The Inn. Dana, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Dana, first of all, please tell us how you personally are doing during this crisis and how the pandemic and COVID-19 has affected you personally and then your organization.
Oh, thank you for asking. Personally, obviously it's been a little bit of a challenge. I am very fortunate to have the position that I have at the Inn, which is a digital marketing and communications position. So I am able to work from home. I do have two small children in elementary school who are currently home. Homeschooling. My district is really amazing. So they have the teachers are live streaming all the classes most of the day. So I'm able to work while they're able to go to school, even though it's downstairs in our house. I have a husband who's an essential worker at the hospital. So we went through some rough times back when we were at the peak of this thing. But it has since slowed down a little bit, and just hoping that it continues to do that. So personally, thank goodness I am doing well. And I try not to complain because I know that there are so many others that aren't necessarily as fortunate.
It's very nice of you to look at the world that way. And just as an aside, I hope you're keeping a few notes and maybe, I want to say in a short diary for your children years from now when they look back and probably have forgotten this, and it'll be just a piece of history that they realize, because I'm hearing you talk, but I'm looking at you and saying you're really working two jobs. If you're a mom and you're at work and you're trying to keep the students, if they're home, they have to go to the bathroom, they need lunch, they need breakfast, they're going to have a question about something or a pencil broke. It's not an easy day. I'm sure after a day you sleep well at night.
I do. And I'll tell you this, motherhood is always an extra, a job in its own. And just these circumstances have made it even more of a struggle for a lot of working moms or single moms and dads too. We don't want to leave them out because they do a lot. I recognize the struggle for everybody and try to just get through every day with as positive an attitude as I can.
Well, definitely you have it. And also, we don't want to forget your husband. Both of you are essential workers. Both of you are working hard doing this and keeping things going in the world. And obviously, we need more people like you. And not only that, but your daily job is working at the Inn. What is the mission of the Inn?
So the mission of the Inn is at its basic point is to serve hungry and homeless Long Islanders. And we do that. We have been doing that since 1983. So we're in our 37th year of existence, which is kind of mind-boggling because it's amazing that we've been needed for so long, and not only needed, but the need has increased in different ways over the years. We've, realized that there's lots of different things that people need on Long Island. Long Island is not always seen as a place of that where poverty lives per se, being that Nassau and Suffolk counties are among the wealthiest counties in the country, but yet there's a lot of people that are struggling, a lot of people that sort of live, if there is a paycheck to be had, paycheck to paycheck. Housing is very expensive and it's not as affordable as it probably should be. Things like minimum wage. I mean, so many people are at different points in their lives, and then add on some kind of circumstance that is out of your control, which I know we're going to talk a lot about. And then people that were already vulnerable are becoming even more vulnerable. And then people that thought that things were going okay or were sort of hanging by a thread, now all of a sudden need a lot of help.
And a story I heard that someone told us, some of the people who were literally donating to their organization and to food banks 6 months ago are now on the line to get food and donations from the food bank. And that's on Long Island. So that really says a lot about how conditions have changed, et cetera. But you seem like the perfect person in the perfect job. So I'm glad we're talking to you today because I think you definitely have a grip on it. Tell us some of the programs that serve the hungry and the homeless for Long Islanders.
Well, the inn operates the largest soup kitchen on Long Island. It's called the Mary Brennan Inn, located in Hempstead. We also have next door to the soup kitchen, we have one of our younger programs started in 2016, which is called the Center for Transformative Change, which is a resource center and also a clothing boutique. If you imagine a soup kitchen as a place where you can kind of have basic needs met, like food, temporary shelter. At a certain point in our existence, there were showers available, clothing. Clothing is next door, but basic needs are met at the soup kitchen. And then kind of take it a step further next door. There might be guests that come in that need different services. They might need housing or furniture or job information or education or something as simple as an identification card so they can prove who they are to receive certain services. You're really kind of nobody in a way, in a sense, if you don't have an ID to prove that you are a member of this society. And there are a lot of services out there that guests come in that they don't even realize that they're eligible for until they sit down and talk to us. So there's those two programs, and we also have shelter programs.
I'm just going to interrupt you and say that's a great point. I have been going to the same bank for 45 years, and I know they're just following the rules, but they cannot take money from me or give money out of my account unless I show their official bank card, and then I have to give them, like the doctor's office, my birth date and some secret information. So we're all, without that magic little card, we can't get prescriptions, we can't get in or out of a doctor's office, we can't get our money in or out of a bank. Absolutely. So that's a great something that you spot and help people with, because that can be daunting if you don't understand this.
Right. And then if you imagine, in order to obtain one of these cards, you need to pay a fee or you need to fill out a form. If you don't know what form to fill out, or if you don't speak English, or if you don't have, $35 to pay a fee, these are things that are stopping people, which continues this cycle of poverty. If you run into obstacles, a lot of times people just give up. So in the resource center, we try to make sure that we follow through with all of those requests and start at that sort of ground zero level of the most basic thing that someone might need to move forward and to hopefully, get what they need to survive, which is really what happens with a lot of the people that we see.
Now, Dana, you used a term, and I have to ask you to go back and explain it. I think you said it was the Center for Transformative Change. That's one of those cool terms. I always like those, but it really doesn't tell me, like, what are we changing from? Is it from A to B? Is it moving up the ladder, down the ladder, accepting life's changes, like before the pandemic, after? So can you explain that a little more?
Sure. Well, the term transformative change, we can attribute that to our executive director. Her name is Jean Kelly. She was one of the very first volunteers 37 years ago that came and answered a call to volunteer at the very first soup kitchen in Nassau County, which was the Mary Brennan Inn. She feels that something like change is transformative. So if you imagine a journey isn't a straight line from one point to the other, it's sort of like this crazy journey that can take you in lots of different directions. So I think that the term Center for Transformative Change is really just taking an individual or a family or, somebody that needs to get to a certain point knowing that it's not just that straight line. So they might start at obtaining an identification card, or they might need to learn some basic computer skills to fill out an application for a job online. Right now, if you don't have basic computer skills, there's very little that you can do. A lot of companies are shifting the applications to solely be online, and there are certain things that people need to know before they get on there, and a lot of those things are daunting. If there's 150 online questions and you really haven't received any basic skills in operating a computer, then that's going to be tough. And these are the obstacles that we talk about. So we try to get people past those obstacles by really, getting down to what their needs are and trying to figure out whatever we have to do in order to get them to where they need to go.
That's a great point, because we've had guests on who tell us there are a lot of jobs in different industries, starting positions and hands-on jobs, blue-collar jobs, that they're actually looking for people. But of course, if they can't work the computer, if they can't do some of the basic things to literally open the door, it's like turning the knob. They can't get those jobs. So thank God you're there for them, and that Center for Transformative Change is up and running. Dana, I would like to take a brief second to tell our audience, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Dana Lopez. She is the Director of Marketing and Communications at The Inn. Now, that's the title of your organization, The and capital INN. Where is The Inn?
Well, The Inn is our HQ is in Hempstead. We have our soup kitchen that's in Hempstead, and our main office where we have a very small full-time staff that works. We need an HR department and finance and facilities and communications development, all of those things. So we have an administrative office. We also we're mainly located in Hempstead. We do have shelters that are sort of spread out across Long Island a little bit. There are temporary housing shelters and also long-term housing units where we give families or individuals that may have formerly been out on the street an opportunity to work with social workers to see, again, what their needs might be in order for them to be able to be self-sufficient and, hopefully someday find a place of their own, or maybe, have job security. And we provide those opportunities as well.
Now, we don't think of this, but I'm going to ask you about how your operations have changed. But before the show, you were telling me, for instance, you have a soup kitchen. But like every other, in quote, restaurant, you're limited on how many people can come in. So you had people standing out in the rain the other day, you said.
Yes. So what happened was, it's so funny, not funny, but we talk about pre-COVID and now we're presently in COVID. Hopefully I'll be able to talk about post-COVID one of these days when this is all done and done.
We love that. We want that show.
Yeah, we're just crossing our fingers. Hopefully. Pre-COVID, our soup kitchen used to serve anywhere from 250 to 400 people in a day, where we would allow people who were waiting outside who needed a meal, a hot meal that was cooked and prepared by very dedicated volunteers. We'd have people come in and sit down and eat a hot meal, get out of the elements for a little while. The numbers were depending on the time of month, time of year, that kind of thing. Obviously, when everything shut down, we were afraid that we would have to completely close our doors and not be able to serve anything or anybody in terms of food. Fortunately, there was a real amazing outpouring of support from people that really just wanted to help during trying times. And they wanted to, help others that maybe may have not been as fortunate as they were. So we did have to close the doors in the sense that we actually didn't let anybody inside. It wasn't even just sort of a capacity thing. The only people that were indoors were a limited number of volunteers and staff members that we had that sort of jumped in and were able to keep the operation going in just a little bit of a different way. So now in the soup kitchen, and this has been going on since the week of March 16th, which is when everything sort of shut down, we've been serving bag lunches. So what guests do now, rather than coming in and sitting down and eating a hot meal, they're standing outside online and waiting for volunteers who have assembled a bag with a sandwich, a beverage, a piece of fruit, and a snack. And they're giving out bag lunches through a plexiglass window booth that was built by our facilities department. And we've been doing that now for going on 7 months. And it's been challenging. You don't really realize how much would go into something like that, but it's definitely challenging. It's not cheap, and it's difficult to make sure that there's enough people to help because of the demands of the people that are outside waiting.
Dana, yeah, I'm more and more impressed with the job you're doing, and I'm sure some good things are going to come out of this that we're learning and that people are learning. I'm also sure that our audience, as they're hearing this, is saying, you know what, maybe I don't have much, but I would like to help. So many people I know want to do something, but they just don't know how. And sometimes they need that initial push or envelope in the mail or suggestion through the show. So if someone's listening to the show, how is the best way for the average person on Long Island? And I think you said you're in Hempstead. So let's say they're 4 or 5 miles away. They're not just around the block. Give us some continuation of ways that we can help, whether it's volunteering, donations of product. Help us along.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, it's very important to know that we are actually privately funded. So all of the funds that we receive are from the generosity of people, whether they're corporations or community groups or individuals that just want to give any little bit that they can. We are fundraising. We're constantly fundraising to make sure that not only are our guests fed and clothed and all of those things, but also that we can keep the lights on and the heat on. It's getting cold outside and things like that. Our buildings do have to keep running as well. So as the digital marketing and communications person, obviously the best way to support us is to get onto our website, which is the-inn.org. So it's the-in.org. We do have a special COVID-19 page that's dedicated to what ways that you can help us, specifically by helping us get those lunch bags assembled and those pantry bags assembled. And there are Amazon wish lists of non-perishable foods that we need and things that, little things that we need. Diapers and wipes for the families that are coming in with babies and asking for those items, which we normally provide, that we now have to sort of put out when we're putting out the lunches. So toiletries, we used to have showers. Well, we do have showers. We haven't been able to use them. People used to be able to come in off the street and take a hot shower in the soup kitchen. It's one of the things that was sort of unique to our facility. We haven't been able to do that, but we've been able to sort of direct them in other places that they might be able to use facilities, but also we give them things like shampoos and soaps and conditioners and lotion and things like that, so they can make sure to practice good hygiene as well. So there's lots of ways to help us on our website.
Dana, what is the one or two things that most people are shocked when you say, oh, we need this as a product or a material item? Sometimes we hear that socks are very important, or you might say jelly or something else. Is there something that you say, gee, this is what the people really appreciate and we would be astounded or surprised?
Well, you mentioned the weather. So, normally we take clothing. We're not able to take gently used clothing at this time. A lot of people, kind of go through their closets and give us their gently used clothing, which we normally are able to accept, but we can't. So right now, as I said, the weather's getting a little colder. We'll be taking brand new hats and gloves. Gloves are a big one. Gloves are definitely a big deal when the winter comes. We find that a lot of guests come in during normal winters with socks on their hands because they don't have gloves. Socks, we actually, I think, are doing okay for now. I would say brand new hats and gloves. We are currently going, once the weather starts getting a little cooler, we'll be accepting coats that only have been only clean coats that have been dry cleaned or that are brand new. Again, COVID restrictions, we're kind of at our hands are tied a little bit to take things that we're not sure where exactly they came from. But to answer your question, I would think the thing that people might be shocked to find out yesterday, I heard from soup kitchen staff that we need ponchos and umbrellas because if, like you said, people standing out in the rain, we would like to give them some sort of protection. And so ponchos and umbrellas are the newest need that we have for guests to sort of brave the elements if they're going to be standing outside for a while.
And I think some of us probably have a box of those either from Disney World, Disneyland. When our children were younger, we may have gotten them at a ball game in an emergency. We had to have them because we were getting rained on. And here we're not using them. Your organization could use them very well and to help people. And also, I'm just going to throw out a challenge here. We have a lot of office workers, lawyers, accountants, medical offices. If they just donated $1 for every new client that comes in over the next month or 2 months or 3 months, it certainly wouldn't hurt them. That's not hurting their pocketbook. But boy, if one whole building just did that, I'm sure it would help your budget enormously, do a lot for the people, and you could go out and buy many of these things. So I'm going to urge organizations, if you want to get involved with a good group, these people at the inn are literally saving lives every day. You see how much our guest Dana Lopez is doing. join in and help out. Dana, also at this point, again, I want to remind our audience that they're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan, but the important person that we're talking to is Dana Lopez. She is the Director of Marketing and Communications at The Inn. The Inn is located in Hempstead, and it's to help disadvantaged and homeless people, I think, and people who need some help during these difficult times. And I guess difficult times is almost always.
Right, especially now.
Especially now. And she's filling us in on what's going on there and how we can help out. Now, I asked you before the show, let's say people have food, and I know there was a question in different groups. If food is expired, you can't take it then. Is that correct? If it's past the expiration date?
Yeah, well, we do ask that that the food that's donated to us, the non-perishable food that does have a shelf life, is not expired. We do abide by Board of Health regulations, and of course, just morally, we don't want to give anybody any expired food that might get them sick, and that's something we certainly wouldn't want to happen if we're donating food that people actually need. So yeah, if you take a quick look at the expiration dates on the food, you never know. When something might be expired. If we do receive expired food, we do check all of the donations that come in, so we're not able to use any expired non-perishable food. So, we wouldn't be able to use it anyway. So it'd be helpful if people who wanted to donate just took a quick look first.
And again, perhaps another challenge, if some people are going through their closets and have some food that's getting close to, not expired, but close to, maybe that they could put into the package that they're sending to you and put a note on it, used by whatever date, and just to help out in any way possible, even if it's some small ways. I'm sure the small ways by enough people become a big way and makes life a lot better for the people that you're working with. Now, tell us about the emergency shelters that you have going.
So,
what do they do?
So we have two emergency temporary shelters that house either one is for families and one is for single men that were formerly homeless. Some of them may have been veterans. They may have been living out on the street. So we have two emergency housing shelters, and then we have 10 units. They're either apartments or houses where we house individuals or families that need a little bit of extra support and attention with different services while they try to get back on their feet. So obviously, like everybody else, when people were quarantined, so were our guests at the shelters. So we had to be really very diligent about our cleaning practices and keeping people as distant as possible. Our family shelters do have individual rooms for each family. So our guests were quarantined for a long time, and that meant that a lot of them were not able to work. And so, because some of them do, they weren't able to, their kids weren't going to school. So that made a lot of challenges for them, just like everybody else. But I guess it kind of adds a new level of pressure onto it when you already, were going through some difficult times.
Dana, I know you have a youth advisory board. And
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's one of the favorite parts of my job. I'm actually, I lead the youth advisory board, which is our normally high school student group, where we give high school students an opportunity to learn about some of the challenges that hungry and homeless Long Islanders are facing. They also learn about ways that they can help. And while they're doing that, they're able to get some community service credit, which right now is sometimes a requirement for certain schools in order to graduate. So we're happy to give them an opportunity. And we're also happy to bring in young people that are passionate about helping others and that really want to do something to make a difference in their own communities. Pre-COVID, so here we go again, pre-COVID, we used to have monthly meetings where we met once a month between October and April in the soup kitchen in Hempstead in the evenings, not while we were operating and serving guests, but we used to open it up in the evenings for the students to come in and do some hands-on volunteer work, and also learn a little bit about what's going on here in Long Island and how they can do something. So now we've changed the program like everything else a little bit, and I have created a more virtual model. So high school students, and I'm calling out to middle school students as well, because I've noticed that, a lot of the middle school students, whether they're younger siblings or they see their high school siblings or cousins or whatever it is doing something, they also want to do things in addition to like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and things like that. So on our website, we have youth volunteer opportunities for the Youth Advisory Board starting on October 21st. We're going to start our virtual Zoom meetings. They're all scheduled until next April. And there will be some ideas of how you can get involved on your own, whether it's at home or if the students are actually in school, different collection drives that they can have and different things that they can do to support us without actually coming in. But there will be some very limited in-person opportunities where small groups of students might be able to come in and package some food or things like that. They won't have direct interaction with the guests themselves, but they will be making a difference sort of in an indirect way without actually seeing the people that we serve.
And students are a great resource. I work on an educational foundation committee, donate some time. And what the students can do, they go out and shovel snow for older people. They rake leaves. They help out in emergencies. This is a great opportunity for them to see how truly, truly lucky they are and how they can give something back. And then sometimes there's that student who this could be the beginning of a great career for them in terms of understanding they have abilities to go out and fundraise, to spread the word, and to be an ambassador for the inn and for your organization. I'm actually blown away at what a great job you're doing and how upbeat you are, not only in difficult times, but we all like to see something positive. And every day you're doing your job by helping people who are working on the negative side of life and have been either beaten down or crushed by things that's totally out of their control. They did nothing to deserve it. Dana, before we wrap up, I'd like you to take an opportunity to tell people we know that the inn is in Hempstead. Maybe there's a phone number you can give us, or again, the website, email, where people can get in touch and just ask you, hey, I have a bicycle. Would you like that? I have an old car. Would you like, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to get some donations for you, as you can see.
I appreciate that.
Tell us the best ways to contact you or the organization and maybe something we're overlooking.
Yep, absolutely. Well, the website again is www.the-inn.org. Just going to our homepage, you can get to all the opportunities that we have available, as well as all the goods that are needed, which we try to keep as updated as possible. The phone number for the main office is 516-486-8506, 516-486-8506. And then an email address is info at the-inn.org. So those are all the ways to get in contact with us. I would really challenge any student, to think of a creative and fun way to get involved, to make sure that, not only are you doing something nice for somebody else, but also you can make it fun and make it creative. We've had some really incredible things that students have done, and they just keep going, whether it's raising funds or collecting goods. We need it all.
Our goal today is to make you work overtime, counting all the money and gifts that are coming in to help at the end. Dana, thank you so much for being our guest today on My Hometown. I'd like our audience to know that today on My Hometown, we've been speaking with Dana Lopez, the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Inn in Hempstead. Dana, thank you so much. Good luck to you, and please keep up the great work.
Thank you. That was great.
I'm Bill Horan. Thanks for listening to this week's edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to WHPC@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.